Welcome to my channel, Learn English with Podcast.
Here is something I want you to think about. You understand English when you read it, you understand it when you hear it. But the moment someone asks you to speak, your brain just goes completely blank. Why does that happen?
Oh, I know that feeling so well. It's like the words are all in there somewhere, but in the moment, you just cannot find them.
Exactly. And today, we're going to talk about how to fix that. Welcome to Learn English with Podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm James. Today's topic is training your brain to actually speak English. Not just understand it, but produce it naturally and confidently.
So James, let's start with that exact problem. Why do so many people understand English well, but still struggle to speak it?
Great question. And I think it comes down to the difference between passive and active skills.
Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. A passive skill is something you receive, like reading or listening. You take in the language without producing anything.
And an active skill is the opposite, speaking and writing, where you actually have to create the language yourself.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Most people spend almost all their time on passive English. They watch videos, listen to music, read posts.
But they rarely practice the active side, and those two skills don't automatically transfer into each other.
Right. You can watch 1,000 hours of English movies and still freeze up the moment someone talks to you directly.
Freeze up, meaning your brain suddenly goes blank and you can't respond. It happens because your brain hasn't been trained to produce language under pressure.
Under pressure, meaning when someone is waiting for you to speak, when there's a time limit, when the stakes feel real.
So the first big takeaway is, if you want to speak English, you have to actually practice speaking English, not just listening.
Sounds obvious, right? But most learners avoid speaking because it feels uncomfortable and risky.
Risky, like you might make a mistake, people might judge you, or you'll embarrass yourself.
And here's the irony. Avoiding speaking because you're afraid of making mistakes is exactly what keeps you from getting better.
Such a classic trap. The only way out is through. You have to speak to improve at speaking.
So let's talk about how the brain actually learns to speak a language. What's actually happening up there?
Okay, so your brain works through patterns and repetition. Every time you hear or use a phrase, a connection gets made between brain cells.
Like a road being built between two places. The more you use it, the stronger and faster that road becomes.
Exactly. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and change through learning and experience.
Neuroplasticity. That's a big word, but it's a hopeful one. It basically means your brain is never too old or too fixed to learn something new.
Which is such an important message. So many people think, I'm too old to learn a language now, but that's just not true.
The brain stays flexible and trainable throughout your life. You just have to give it the right kind of practice.
And the right kind of practice is not just exposure, it's active use, actually making your brain retrieve the language and put it into words.
Retrieve, meaning pulling something out from memory. That act of retrieving is actually what makes memory stronger and more accessible.
So every time you struggle to find a word and you eventually find it, that struggle is actually building the pathway. It's not a failure, it's training.
Oh, I love that reframe. The struggle is the training. Most people want it to feel smooth and easy, but the difficulty is actually the point.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about something really practical. How to start training your brain to speak. What's the very first step?
I always say start by thinking in English, even just for a few minutes a day.
What do you mean by that exactly?
So most people, when they want to say something in English, first think of it in their native language and then translate it. That process is slow and clunky.
Clunky, meaning awkward, slow, not flowing smoothly. And that translation step is what creates that frustrating delay when you speak.
Right. The goal is to get to the point where you can think directly in English without the translation step in between.
And that sounds impossible, but it's actually something you can train. You just start small.
Like, when you wake up in the morning, describe your surroundings in English. The window is open. The sky looks cloudy. My coffee is too hot.
Simple, everyday observations. No grammar pressure, no one listening, just your brain building the habit of reaching for English first.
And you'd be surprised how quickly this starts to feel natural if you do it consistently, even for just 5 minutes a day.
Consistently, meaning regularly, without big gaps. That regularity is what trains the brain to default to English instead of always going back to the native language.
Default to, meaning automatically choose without thinking about it. That's the ultimate goal. English becomes your default response mode.
Let's talk about another great brain training technique, shadowing. Have you tried this?
Shadowing is one of my absolute favorites. Can you explain what it is for our listeners?
Sure. Shadowing means listening to a native English speaker and repeating exactly what they say, almost at the same time, like a shadow following someone.
So you're not just listening, you're actively mimicking the pronunciation, the rhythm, the speed, the tone, everything.
Mimicking, copying someone's way of speaking very closely. And this is so powerful because you're literally training your mouth and brain together.
Your mouth has to get used to forming English sounds quickly, just like a musician has to train their fingers to move fast.
Exactly that comparison. Speaking is a physical skill as much as it's a mental one. Your mouth muscles need practice too.
And shadowing gives you both at the same time, the mental pattern and the physical practice.
How do you actually do it in practice? Walk us through it.
So pick something you enjoy in English, a podcast, a short video, a scene from a show. Start with maybe 30 seconds of audio.
Then listen once without repeating. Just get familiar with what's being said.
Then play it again and speak along with it. Don't worry about being perfect. Just try to keep up and match the sounds as closely as you can.
And then repeat that same clip several times until it starts to feel more natural and automatic.
The repetition is key. You're literally carving that pattern into your brain, one repetition at a time.
Carving a pattern, like engraving something into wood. The more times you go over it, the deeper and more permanent it becomes.
And this is why a lot of professional language learners use shadowing as their main speaking practice tool.
Now, let's talk about something that I think holds a lot of people back, the inner critic, the voice in your head that judges everything you say.
Oh, the inner critic. That voice that says, your accent is terrible. That sentence was wrong. Everyone's going to laugh.
And it's so loud when you're speaking a second language because you're aware of every little mistake in a way you're not in your native tongue.
Native tongue, meaning your first language, the one you grew up speaking naturally.
And here's the thing about that inner critic. It actually slows your brain down. When you're self-monitoring too much, you can't speak fluently.
Self-monitoring, meaning constantly checking and judging yourself while speaking. It interrupts the flow of language production.
Exactly. Fluent speakers don't think about every word as they say it. They trust their brain and let the words come.
So how do you quiet that inner critic? Because telling yourself to stop worrying doesn't really work.
The best thing I found is to shift your focus outward. Instead of thinking about how you sound, focus completely on what the other person is saying.
That's such good advice. When your attention is on the message and not on yourself, the self-consciousness naturally goes down.
Self-consciousness? Being overly aware of and worried about how you appear to others. It's one of the biggest blockers for language learners.
And the more you practice speaking in low-pressure situations, the quieter that inner critic gets over time.
Low-pressure situations? Meaning places where there's little risk or judgment, like speaking to yourself, a close friend, or a language exchange partner.
Let's talk about language exchange, because I think it's one of the most underused tools for English learners.
A language exchange is when you find someone who speaks English natively and wants to learn your language. You help each other.
So you practice English with them and they practice your language with you. It's completely free and both people benefit equally.
Benefit equally. Both people gain something of equal value. It's such a fair and natural way to practice real conversations.
And the great thing is, both people understand what it's like to be a learner, so there's much less judgment and much more patience.
Patience, willingness to wait and stay calm even when mistakes happen. That's exactly what you need when you're still building confidence.
There are apps and websites where you can find language exchange partners really easily these days.
And even just texting back and forth in English with someone online is a great way to bridge the gap between passive and active use.
Bridge the gap, meaning to connect two things that are far apart. In this case, connecting your passive understanding with your active speaking.
Let's talk about something else that really trains the brain. Talking to yourself in English.
I know that sounds a little strange, but honestly, it's one of the most effective things you can do.
It's not strange at all. When you narrate your own day in English, you're getting real speaking practice with zero pressure.
Narrate, meaning to describe what's happening, like a storyteller. So instead of just making breakfast, you say out loud, I'm putting the bread in the toaster. I'm waiting for it to pop up.
And that might feel silly at first, but what you're doing is building the habit of reaching for English words in real-time situations.
Real time, meaning in the moment, as it's happening, not after the fact.
And when you do it regularly, your brain starts doing it automatically. You start finding English words faster because the pathways are well practiced.
Well practiced, meaning you've done it enough times that it's become smooth and natural. It's no longer new or difficult.
Another technique I love is recording yourself speaking English and then listening back.
Oh, this one is so uncomfortable for most people. Nobody likes the sound of their own voice.
Nobody does. But here's why it's so valuable. When you listen back, you notice things you never notice while you're speaking.
Like filler words. That you're using way more than you realized.
Or places where you're speaking too fast, or a word you're consistently mispronouncing without knowing it.
Mispronouncing. Saying a word incorrectly. And often we don't even know we're doing it until we hear ourselves from the outside.
Exactly. Recording yourself gives you that outside perspective on your own speaking, which is incredibly useful for improvement.
And it also shows you your progress over time, which is really motivating. You compare a recording from 2 months ago to today, and you can actually hear the difference.
Hear the difference, noticing a real change or improvement. That's such a powerful motivator to keep going.
Let's talk about vocabulary now, because having the words in your head is obviously important for speaking.
Right, but there's a big difference between words you recognize and words you can actually use in a conversation.
Recognition versus production again. That passive versus active thing we talked about at the beginning.
Exactly. So the trick for vocabulary is not just to learn a new word, but to immediately use it in a sentence out loud.
Say it out loud. Put it in a real context. Connect it to something in your own life. That's what makes words stick.
Stick, meaning to stay in your memory long-term, not disappear after a few hours. Vocabulary that you use actively sticks much better than vocabulary you just read.
I used to write new words in a notebook. Then I realized I was just writing them, not using them, and they kept slipping away.
Slipping away, gradually leaving your memory, like water through your fingers. So many learners have that exact experience.
Now when I learn a new word, I try to use it in 3 different sentences right away, out loud, not just in my head.
3 sentences out loud? That's such a practical technique. It forces your brain to really process the word, not just recognize it.
All right, should we move into the recap? We've covered so much today.
Let's do it. So first, understand the difference between passive skills, like listening and reading, and active skills, like speaking. You need to practice both.
Second, your brain learns to speak through repetition and active retrieval. The struggle of searching for words is actually building your ability, not proving you're failing.
Third, train your brain to think directly in English by narrating your day, describing your surroundings, and avoiding the translation step.
Fourth, use shadowing to train your mouth and brain together. Listen to native speakers and repeat what they say, closely and repeatedly.
Fifth, quiet your inner critic by shifting your focus to the message, not to yourself. Practice in low-pressure situations to build real confidence.
Sixth, use language exchange partners and self-talk to get real speaking practice without the pressure of a classroom.
And seventh, record yourself speaking, listen back, and track your progress. It's uncomfortable, but incredibly useful.
Such a great list, and every single one of those things can be started today with no special equipment and no extra money.
Just your brain, your voice, and a decision to train consistently. That's really all it takes.
To everyone listening right now, your brain is capable of speaking English fluently. It just needs the right kind of practice done regularly.
Don't wait until your English is perfect to start speaking. Start speaking now, and your English will become perfect through the speaking.
Keep practicing English every day. Even 10 minutes of active speaking practice is worth more than hours of passive listening.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake is your brain rewiring itself, getting stronger and more capable.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope this episode gave you real tools you can use starting right now.
We'll see you in the next podcast. Until then, open your mouth, speak English, and trust your brain to catch up.
Bye for now, everyone. Your brain is ready. Are you?